Parallel Universe Tales. In this infinite fabric we call reality, we all weave in and out of parallel universes that occupy the same space we inhabit. There is an infinite number of universes existing side by side with ours, all intertwined and connected through a complex network of consciousness and energy. These parallel universes coexist in the same geographical area and space, yet they do not touch or overlap, as they vibrate at different frequencies. You may have experienced walking down a familiar street and noticing that a tree or building is missing from the landscape, even though you could swear it was there the last time you passed by. Some of these parallel universes are so similar that they are practically identical. So, sometimes when they overlap, people can temporarily cross over to other universes and then return without disrupting their own matrix. The universe is filled with mysteries and laws unknown to scientists, and that is why many people who have noticed sudden changes in their familiar surroundings have been unable to find an answer. Here, we present some recorded and famous stories from the world of mystery and interdimensional travel, as well as lesser-known ones shared by web users. However, one of these stories was generated by an artificial intelligence and it surprised us quite a bit. Watch the full video to discover which of these stories it is. The following account happened to a young woman relatively recently. About 4 months ago, something quite strange occurred to a young Tinder user. She had been single for a little over 3 years and decided to create a profile on the app to see how this whole online dating thing worked. After creating her profile and a few days passing by, she had some matches with different people, some interesting and others she chose to ignore. However, one day a guy appeared who immediately caught her attention. He was the first to like her profile, and she accepted. His profile was interesting, and they seemed to have a lot in common. The guy sent her a message, and they started chatting. From the very beginning, she was surprised by the fluidity and the engaging nature of their conversations. After more than a month of good interaction with the guy, they agreed to meet in person. Their first date would be at a shopping mall in their city to have a meal and get to know each other better. On the day of the date, it turned out that the girl arrived at the location first, and she informed the guy through a message. He replied that he would arrive in a few minutes and would let her know when he was there. She waited for quite a while, which felt like an eternity being alone in that place. She picked up her phone again and sent him a message to inquire about his whereabouts. Surprisingly, he responded, claiming that he had been at the agreed-upon location for the past 30 minutes. According to him, he had tried to communicate with her, but none of his messages had reached her phone. Disillusionment began to take hold of her, thinking that it was all a joke. However, something about the guy's attitude through his messages made her believe that his claims could be true. The girl then decided to send him a selfie showing where she was seated, to dispel the doubts that perhaps both of them were there but couldn't find each other amidst the crowd of people present. However, the guy's response, instead of reassuring her, disturbed her. He sent her an amazed emoji and a selfie taken exactly in the same place where she was. He wasn't just talking about the shopping mall, but the exact spot where she was. The same table, the same chairs, everything in the exact identical position in both photos, as if it were a mirror. Even the other people in the shopping mall were identical to those appearing in the exchanged images. She didn't know what to do, she didn't even understand what was happening. The man who seemed perfect for her claimed to be there, but she couldn't see him, and apparently, he was experiencing the same thing. While she tried to figure out what was going on, the guy's profile abruptly changed and disappeared. Only an error message remained, indicating that the user didn't exist. She tried to call him or communicate through messaging, but she received the same response, that number didn't exist. To this day, she hasn't been able to understand what happened. Part of her believes it was just a tasteless prank, but deep down, she feels that it's not the case. She can't help but think that perhaps something strange occurred, and that guy did exist, but not in the same world as her. The following account was published in the United Kingdom in 1851. Reports of this story centered around the small German town of Frankfurt, where several people reported a confused man wandering. When questioned by local authorities, he managed to explain that his name was Joseph Vorin and he had no idea where he was. He claimed that he had come to Germany in search of his brother, but had previously shipwrecked in an unknown place. The man insisted that he was from a country called Laxaria. The problem was that no one else had heard of this place, because the country didn't exist on any known map. Vorin explained that his country Laxaria was located in a region called Sakria. But once again, no one had heard of such a place. As expected, Vorin couldn't trace his journey to that point on a map and didn't recognize any of the continent names as we know them. The man continued to reveal more about his homeland, explaining that the Earth he knew was divided into 5 main regions: Sakria, Afla, Asla, Orsla, and Upla. He also claimed to fluently speak Laxarian, as well as a second unknown language called Abramian. Finally, he described himself as a follower of Christianity but from an unknown branch called Aspasiana. Authorities reportedly sent him to Berlin for further interrogation, with some versions claiming he escaped on the way and was never heard from again. Japan, 1950s. The following is a story that often recurs in discussions of parallel dimensions and strange events. The exact dates tend to differ in different versions of this story, but it is generally said that at some point in the late 1950s, a man presented his passport at a Tokyo airport, expecting to be allowed through the gate for international travel. All his documents seemed to be in order, except for one thing: the country that had issued the passport did not exist. The document appeared perfectly normal, but the country of origin was Tord, a country that has never existed on any known map throughout history. Assuming that this man was a criminal, customs officials at the airport detained him for questioning. In the interrogation area, the man showed no resistance and appeared very confused about what was happening. When asked to point out Tord on a map, he apparently could do so, but what he pointed to was what we now know as Andorra, a country located in southwestern Europe, between Spain and France on the border of the Iberian Peninsula. According to the man, the unknown country of Tord was 1,000 years old. It is reported that he was able to show customs personnel several official stamps in his passport, and coins from various other countries where he apparently had business dealings in the past. Naturally, the officials investigated further, according to most versions of the story, and called the company the man claimed to work for. They discovered that the company existed, but not in any place known as Tord. They also called the hotel where the man insisted he had a reservation, and while the hotel was real, no reservation was found under his name. The officials sank deeper into a pit of confusion and missteps. Everything seemed legitimate and in order, except for the rather significant fact that Tord, and by extension the man himself, simply did not exist. Pending further investigation, it is said that the man was sent to a nearby hotel where he was placed under armed custody, with suspicions that he could still be some kind of criminal. However, after a night's stay, the man simply disappeared along with all his documents. There was no trace of him, and his fate remains unknown. Spain, November 1986. Ramirez was on his usual route back home from work in the city of Seville. Everything seemed normal as he listened to the afternoon news report on his radio, but then he passed through a strange and unfamiliar part of the road. This piqued his curiosity because he had been taking the same route from work to home for years. It was a very peculiar 6-lane highway that he definitely didn't recognize. Along the side of this new road were tall buildings that Ramirez had never seen before, despite traveling that way every day. But it gets even stranger, as the man felt a warm and distinct change in temperature in his car, and heard a series of voices informing him that he had been transported to a different hemisphere. Unsure of how to proceed, Ramirez continued driving until he reached an intersection with signs pointing in 3 directions. Perplexed and not knowing what to do, he took one of the roads and believed he was heading back to Seville, but Ramirez was surprised when his car suddenly stopped working on its own. He felt completely abandoned by luck, as if what was happening wasn't enough. Now his car decided to stop functioning due to a mechanical failure or something. He looked out the window to see if there was any establishment to ask for help, but to his surprise, Ramirez was parked right in front of his home, where he had been trying to reach all this time, as if something or someone intervened in some way and took him out of that unknown road, and placed him right in front of his house in the blink of an eye. Confused, he tried to retrace his steps several times, but he could never find his way back to that 6-lane highway. How did he get home, and who were the voices that spoke to him through his car? To this day, it remains a mystery. Alex was a passionate scientist working in an experimental physics laboratory. It was a normal day like any other, and he was working with a particle accelerator when a very unexpected incident occurred. A system failure caused a fluctuation in the energy field, and in the blink of an eye, Alex found himself in a completely unfamiliar place. Confused and disoriented, Alex realized that he had accidentally traveled to a parallel universe. The landscape around him was similar, but there were subtle differences. The buildings had a slightly different architectural design, people dressed peculiarly, and the street names were different. Determined to understand what had happened, Alex began to explore the new environment. He soon encountered alternative versions of people he knew in his own universe. Some were close friends, but others were complete strangers. Confusion and astonishment overwhelmed him as he tried to find a way back home. As time passed, Alex discovered that this parallel universe had more advanced technology in certain aspects. Communications were faster, transportation methods were more efficient, and energy was generated in innovative ways. However, there were also unique challenges and problems in this world. During his search for answers, Alex encountered a group of scientists studying the existence of parallel universes. These scientists were fascinated by Alex's unexpected arrival and welcomed him into their team. Together, they explored the theories behind interdimensional travel and worked tirelessly to find a way to send Alex back to his own universe. Over the course of their research, Alex formed lasting friendships and learned valuable lessons about the diversity of universes, and the infinite possibilities that exist beyond his own reality. He learned to appreciate the differences and similarities between different universes and how each one has its own beauty and complexity. Several months had passed since Alex's sudden arrival, and on a day as ordinary as the one he traveled to this new dimension, in the blink of an eye, he simply returned to the same moment of that day, months ago, in his workplace and his native universe. The curious thing about the case is that, despite spending months lost in that other world, apparently only seconds had passed in this universe from which he came. From that experience, Alex continued his research and became an advocate for theoretical studies of parallel universes. He shared his story with the world, inspiring others to explore the limits of reality and understand that within the vast fabric of the multiverse, there are infinite possibilities waiting to be discovered. Marcahuasi Stone Forest, Peru. Dr. Raul Centeno claims to have treated a woman who accidentally passed through an interdimensional door that can be found somewhere in this particular South American landscape. The patient of Dr. Centeno, along with a group of friends, decided to take a nighttime hike through the forest when they stumbled upon a small wooden cabin with people inside, engaged in what appeared to be a celebration. According to the story, the group soon discovered that the people in the cabin were dressed incongruously and in old-fashioned clothing, resembling styles from the 17th century. The hikers claimed to have quickly felt an unusual and uncontrollable desire to join the party, and so the woman attempted to enter the cabin, but her friends changed their minds and pulled her back, though not before half of her body had passed through the cabin door. It was then that the woman discovered that the side of her body that had passed through the door was paralyzed. This was primarily the reason she sought treatment from Dr. Centeno in the first place, who diagnosed her with hemiplegia. But despite the diagnosis, the doctor could not decipher a clear cause for this sudden and inexplicable condition. The doctor believes that the unfortunate fate of the woman may have been the result of a brief visit to an alternate dimension, one that is beyond that mysterious door in Marcahuasi. This happened in 2019. The whole thing started on the morning of her little sister's birthday. Everything seemed perfectly normal when she woke up. She woke up in her room, made her coffee, and went to the gym to lift weights like every morning. Upon returning home and seeing that her little sister was already awake, she decided to look for the gift she had bought her days before to surprise her on this day. However, when she presented the gift to her younger sister, she responded strangely, saying that her birthday was not on July 4th. Shortly after, she discovered that not only had she been mistaken about her sister's birthday, but also the birthdays of her entire family. She decided to share her confusion with her girlfriend by calling her, but she replied that she didn't know him and that they had never met in real life. At first, he thought it was some kind of prank. However, as the days went by, he noticed several small things that were the same but slightly different from what he knew. The guy is convinced that he somehow woke up in an alternate dimension and now he was looking for a solution to return home, and to his original reality. He sought help from anyone who could offer it, hoping to find a way to rectify the situation he found himself in, trapped in this parallel universe. But he is already getting used to living with the small differences that this strange event brought along. If you thought that the scientist's story was created by artificial intelligence, you guessed it. Amazing, isn't it? If you enjoyed these stories and are interested in unexplained cases from the world of mystery, join our community by subscribing to our channel, and don't forget to give this video a like. Thank you for your attention, and we'll see you in the next video.